What's up, everybody? Hey, thanks for tuning in and watching the Recovery Clinic. My name is Jimmy McGill. I'm a man in long-term recovery, and this is not Chris Dickie.
No, I'm not.
But we will get to that in a second. Listen, Chris is still with us, but first, if you haven't already hit that like button and subscribe to this channel, go do so now. This is where we carry a message of hope and recovery to Arkansans and people all across the nation. That is, if you're suffering from addiction and you can't stop using, there is a way out, and we're proof of that. Chris is coming to us virtually. Chris, what's up, man?
Hey, everybody. Sorry I can't be in the studio with you guys, but hey, the way you frame that up is like, he's still with us. No, so I'm glad that, no, all kidding aside, you know, the Recovery Clinic is all about carrying the message of hope to people who could be potentially struggling or just want that way to stay engaged and interacting with the recovery community. And, you know, we do recover is our slogan. I'm out of an abundance of caution. You know, I'm came in direct contact with someone who had a positive COVID case, so didn't want to take the risk of exposing anybody. And you know, the news, they want to report the news. They don't want to be the news. And so it was best for me just to come into you and you know, interact with you all today virtually. So I'm grateful to be here and grateful for that guy sitting next to you, Jimmy.
Yeah. And so I am too, man. And without any further ado, listen, he's got an amazing recovery story. I'm excited to hear about it. We're excited to talk about what's going on. And there are so many different ways that a person can find recovery. And so Blake found his recovery through his passion and faith, right? And so Blake, what's up? Tell us what's going on, man.
What's up, man? I'm just glad to be here. So it's a kind of a cool story. Chris, man, whenever he and I first met, we realized that we were grounded and rooted and had a lot of similarities from our past raisings. I'm from Cave City, Arkansas. It's not something I get to talk about quite frequently, but nevertheless, Chris and I, man, we were talking about it this morning, and I just want to clear the air to anybody out there. I never slashed Jerry Elkins' tires. Jerry Elkins was my high school principal, and Chris just said he heard that and was just wanting to confirm it, and I can deny that all day long. As a Christian and as a pastor, I never slashed Jerry Elkins' tires. All right, I just feel better, man. Like I just wanted to get that off my chest, just in the front of the.
Hey,
is that the end of the show?
To out the person who did that? No, I'm just kidding. Don't say anything.
You know what, Chris? That instantly reminds me of a good old-fashioned Arkansas shotgun preacher. Like, we'll punch you and then pray for you. I'm gonna beat you, but then we're gonna pray for the Holy Ghost to get you.
That's it, man.
That's good stuff. Blake, what's up, man? Talk to us a little bit about your recovery. How long were you in active addiction, and what did that look like?
All right, so I was trying to think back. Like, I don't get the opportunity to really tell my story that often. Being a director of recovery ministry, it's not about you. I get to share bits and pieces of you know, my recovery story. And what my wife and I do is we're the executive directors of M18 Recovery, which is a recovery ministry located in the heart of downtown Little Rock, man. We
right
are
in the center of it.
Right in the center. Like, we're right off Main Street. We're on 9th and Scott, so we are literally right in the middle of downtown Little Rock. We absolutely love it, and we're just so thankful. But people ask me, how did you become a recovery pastor? And I say, well, it's the school of hard knocks, followed by a call of God on your life. It's not necessarily seminary school. And so my journey, man, it started out like a lot of people. I started off in high school, great kid, straight A's, never made a B, all through school, until I started shooting meth. And it was the craziest thing. I went from being a really good kid to hanging out with the wrong crowd for about 30, 45 minutes, and then I tried to become president of the club, you know? And so I didn't...
Dang, you just started shooting dope like that?
About a month and a half.
After your initial use?
Yeah.
Chris?
That's the accelerated track.
Yeah, no.
Hey, Blake, to clarify, too, for the audience, you know, why that is kind of a funny deal is I'm married to Jerry Elkins.
Yes. Yes.
So.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So you done slash Chris's father.
I did not slash Chris's father-in-law's tires.
Jimmy, Jimmy's good at that, Blake. He'll take something and continue to pour gas on it.
So I'm just going to throw it out there. Anybody wonder what I'm looking at all throughout this? We got Chris Dickie on a video in the studio, and so I'm just going to, I don't know if that's against camera policy or not, but I'm just going to throw it out there and let y'all know what I'm looking at.
It is. We're talking to them.
Okay, there you go.
But hey, Blake, I love the ministry that you lead today. Talk to us a little bit more about M18 and how you came about founding that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess it really goes back to the story and just where we kind of left off. As soon as I found drugs in life, like I thought that I would never go down that route. I loved them, like loved everything about them. From the first moment that I started smoking weed, then I started drinking, and then I started doing meth, and then I started shooting meth, and like that was just it. Like, I mean, it all happened in such a short period of time. But I remember the first time that I ever tried any drug, I said, you know what? I said, this is it. This is my path in life. I will try every drug known to man, and I will use them in excess. And that was a declaration that I made. And I did. I got strung out in high school, ended up kicking the needle, but never actually kicked the drug habit. Continually, would drink, smoke weed. I actually considered sobriety if I could just drink and smoke weed throughout, like the weekends, and would use a little bit during the week. But if I could just stay off meth.
We see a lot of that. So how did that work out for you? Because we see a lot of that, don't we, Chris? We see a lot of it.
Yeah. I haven't used meth in 10 days. Haven't drank alcohol in 180 days. That kind of thing.
Like
it's hard to compartmentalize it.
I got 6 months sober, Chris.
Yeah.
I mean, not in a row or anything.
Yeah. I had a guy one time told me he had 6 months clean and 2 weeks sober. I was like, well, I can't. He counted alcohol as his sobriety and counted clean time with his drug use. Here's what I can say about that. I do not moderate well.
Me either.
Crack cocaine or carbohydrates, man. Like, I do not moderate. When I put something in my body, I no longer have control over my body. Whatever I have put in my body now has control over it. If we were all at a bar and I poured 3 shots, they wouldn't be for you guys. I would take the first 3 and then I would pour the next ones for us because that's how I consume drugs and alcohol. I think AA says 1 is never enough, and what is it?
1 is too many, and 1,000
1,000's never enough, man. Like, that's it. It becomes my lifestyle. I'm an extremist in whatever I do. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, because then whenever you get to the point in which that you want, faith in Christ or, sobriety to be what you put to be your extreme action, then you end up on the recovery clinic with you guys.
Yeah, no, I can relate to that, right? Like, I've got 2 things inside me. I've got my recovery and I've got my addiction.
Yeah.
Right? And the one that I feed the most will be the one that sits down at dinner with me tonight.
Yeah.
That's the one. Like, whatever I put in me, I can either put the Spirit of God in me, or I can put my addiction in me. And the one that I feed will be the one that's victorious.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man.
Jimmy doesn't have an inner child. He's got an inner hoodlum. He's trying to keep pace.
I believe that. I like that. I like that a lot.
Inner hoodlum.
Yeah.
So that'll be the next sermon we preach on.
My inner hoodlum.
Inner hoodlum.
Yeah, well, just kind of piggybacking on that is I like how you said whichever one you feed, because a lot of people, they view sobriety as abstinence, and so what we teach at M18 is that it's not necessarily abstaining from drugs and alcohol, which you have to do, but the way that we achieve that is by filling yourself with positivity, because just white knuckling it, just going through the motions every day, that gets miserable, man. Like I have achieved freedom from my addiction. Like it's something that I have to be aware of, and I have to always, make the conscious effort to continue to stay in my faith and stay in Christ and continue to carry the message of reconciliation to the masses in order to maintain that freedom. But at the same time, man, like we all have to know without a shadow of a doubt that whatever we're putting in ourselves and whatever we're filling ourselves with is what we're gonna become.
Yeah, that's good. Man, that's good.
Yeah,
it's good stuff.
Well, whenever you're an addict for as long as you are, what we always say at M18 is that we don't teach people how to be sober. We teach people how to live life. because sobriety, man, it's a necessity, and it has to be first priority in your life, because if you don't achieve sobriety, you're never going to be able to do any of the other things that you want to do in your life.
You'll never be no Chris Dickie.
You will never be a Chris Dickie.
Hey, last
sure.
week we talked about with Lieutenant Governor Blake, and you just hit the nail on the head. We're not interested in just surviving and eking by anymore. We went from surviving to thriving, and that's the whole point of this second chance and second lease on life, is to not just eke by. I mean, if that's the case, we're doing it wrong. The three of us and a majority of our viewers, we're looking for something much greater than just existing. Right? Yeah. It's that purpose that drives us.
Well, it's an abundant life, is what my Bible says. It says that Christ came so that we could have life and we could have it to the full. Yeah. And so whenever you're just scraping by, man, we see so many people time and time again that they come into recovery and they expect their struggle to be over after they found sobriety.
Which is the most, ultimately, listen, do not listen. Blake, that's a dart. Chris, that's a bullseye that he just hit. Listen, it is absolute insanity to think that all the problems you had using are going to go away when you sober up, because addiction is so much more than a drug or a drink. Yeah, that's a symptom of addiction. Yeah, right. And so to think that all my problems are going to go away when I quit using, that's a setup. You're setting yourself up to pop that pink cloud before you even get a chance to ride it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. If you think that just by stopping abusing drugs that anything is going to really be different. A lot of things will be different. I take that back. But you're still going to have to deal with the problems in your marriage. You're still going to have to deal with your loneliness. You're still going to have to figure out how to deal with your anxieties. Like, you're still going to, your felonies, your court costs. Like, you got to deal with all that, man. Yeah. Except now you don't have the drugs to suppress the fact that you're in the situation. Now you have to be a grown up and deal with them.
Yeah, because that's what normal people do. When I got sober, I was shocked at how many normal, productive people in the world went through stuff without getting high. Yeah. They were the tough ones. I thought we were tough and that they were stupid because they didn't, use to numb themselves. They got to go through that stuff sober. They bury their family members sober. Yeah. They experience loss and grief. Not grease. That's a new thing. They experience grief. They do that sober.
Well, hey, man, and not only those big ticket items, even a broken shoelace could set me off. And that's the thing. I've got to have balance in my life. And so, what Blake's talking about is so true. All of those things that I am are still there. I may not have a hangover anymore, but I still have those rage fits. And to simple questions like, hey, what are you planning on doing today? Leave me alone. Why are you not? That kind of those just emotions that are just out of control. And I remember Tara, I'm dating Tara, and 9 months into our relationship, I finally come clean that I don't have liability insurance. And she's like, why? And I said, because I don't believe it. I'm a good driver. But that's against the law, dude. You got to get that. And so just doing this adulting thing and being a productive member of society, takes time.
Yeah, for sure. I think that that what all this kind of piggybacks on is whenever you have unrealistic expectations, you're always going to be met with disappointment. That's right. And I think that was one of the things that left me in my addiction for so long. Whenever I was in college, I continued to abuse drugs. I've almost got a degree in 5 different things. The only thing that I have to show for it, though, is about $70,000 worth of student loan debt. I could never finish anything. I always thought that there was some magic corporate elevator. I never wanted to start climbing the ladder. I just wanted to one day just think that it was all going to be okay, and I was going to have this career in front of me, and it was going to take zero effort or energy, and my dreams were going to be fulfilled. And whenever that didn't happen, it led to destruction. Where it really all this started, where my faith journey started, and where my sobriety started was in 2000. And I think about 10, I tried to get back in school, realized that I couldn't get back in college. I realized that I had multiple felonies on my record. I realized that a long time ago. Right. But I couldn't achieve what it was that I thought that I was supposed to be. I was supposed to be a doctor. I was supposed to be an engineer. I was supposed to be an anesthesiologist. I was supposed to have made something of myself.
Potential.
Yeah, and I was nothing. I was nothing at all. I was a multiple felon with too many college attempted hours in order to get back in college, and so I was a drug addict, man. Every year around the holiday season, I would realize that I was a drug addict because no matter how much clean time, which wasn't any, it was the fake clean time I was talking about earlier that I could put down during the year, I was always trying to throw a meth pipe out the window, you know what I mean, on Thanksgiving or Christmas so that I could not be weird around my family. But
I remember those days, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just try to get a couple of days without using so that I didn't wig out, get paranoid, or think some psychotic stuff, man.
Can you imagine just going ballistic on that turkey because you thought one of your family members had a FBI bug in there?
Yeah, or poisoned it. And they put some kind of sleeping medicine in it because they knew I'd been up for 27 days. And so don't drink the orange juice. It's got a crushed up Vicodin in it, you know. I went through it, dude.
That's crazy, man.
That was the type of paranoia and pain that got me clean, though.
Yeah.
And so what led to you? Because when you got sober and you got clean, like I like what you said. It was that lived experience, that hard knock with the call of God. Because people, you know, Chris and I get a lot of attention because of our social media presence.
Yeah.
But M18 is right there with us, dude. Which is huge right now because social media has changed an entire generation.
Yeah.
It's such a key
That's Ashley Polston. Ashley is our social media manager. My wife, executive director of M18 as well. So like we collaborate on that together. But Ashley has really done a great job at telling the story of who we are and capturing the stories of the individuals. What happened was, like I said, I was hopeless. I was lost. I didn't know what to do. So I thought that I would go Breaking Bad.
You're gonna cook something.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because the beginning of my journey, I was going to learn how I was going to do every drug known to man. The end of my journey, I was going to manufacture everything known to man.
Yeah.
So what could go wrong?
He was going to be the plug's plug.
That was it. But somewhere along the way, man, God started touching my heart, and he revealed himself to me in an awesome way in 2004. But it wasn't up until 2013 that I really submitted and surrendered. And the reason I say that is because I know that there might be some people out there that, much like me, have rededicated their life many different times in a sermon, and they're still not there yet, and they're wondering why God's not working in their life. Well, I'm here to tell you He is working in your life, because it took me approximately 9 years before I realized that there was a God with all my heart before that I actually submitted and surrendered to what He wanted me to do, and it was in handcuffs that I was able to do that.
You know, I think we got a picture of that, don't we, Rick? I'm not supposed to say, Ricky, I'd get him in trouble. So.
Hey, you're looking good there, man.
Yeah.
I don't see a problem.
That was my first day of sobriety, as well as the day that I submitted to God.
It's funny how jails do that.
Yeah, just because you find jail in Jesus, you can bring him out with you. It's okay.
I gotta say, man, you look like
one of those
Osama
guys
bin Laden in that picture.
No, I look more like Saddam Hussein.
Yeah, you one of them.
No, I really am. So if you guys, any of you out at home right now on your computers, if y'all want to Google Saddam Hussein, whenever they drug him out of the cave when they captured him, I look like his love child, man. Like that's where I'm at. Irony in that is I was wearing a bathrobe, but I haven't bathed in about 7 days.
Ain't it funny how
you're still kind of, but you have this glamour shot vibe. But you still think you're looking good. Like,
I'm smoldering.
You look at that, you're like, hey, look at it. Look at
Yeah,
your
smoldering.
Your head's tilted to the side a little bit. You're winking at the camera with your eyes.
Yeah, can't crush my swagger, man. That's all I'm saying. But
look at that. Yeah, thank you. Bring that back up.
Seeing that.
Hey, Blake, you're talking about the multiple, if you will, turning it over and giving up my life. And, you know, I'm reminded of that Crowder song, Come As You Are. I just love those lyrics. If you haven't heard or read those lyrics, I encourage you to do so, because that is the truth, 100%. Come as you are.
Yeah. Well,
it doesn't matter where you're at.
I'll celebrate.
Come as you are.
I'll celebrate 8 years clean time and surrendered to Christ in 2 days. So today, I mean, January 15th was my arrest date, and when I got arrested, I told the Sharp County Sheriff's Department, thank you, man. Like, they saved my life. I had literally moved to my family's house in Sharp County, Arkansas, and I decided I was going to learn how to make every drug known to man. When they arrested me, I had about 52-something chemicals. They only charged me for forgery and manufacturing meth. But truth be told, I was making moonshine, I was growing poppy so I could make heroin, I was growing mushrooms, I was making GHB, I was making DMT. I was lost. I mean, I was insane. And here's the crazy part. I knew what I was doing to myself, and I was killing myself, and so I couldn't even sell the stuff I was manufacturing. I was making ephedrine so that I could make meth. I was making the precursors to the Schedule I chemicals, and I was doing it all by myself, locked up in isolation.
That's where it wants us.
Yeah, no, it was going to kill me, without a shadow of a doubt. I did not know how to put it down. Had no clue. I knew God had something different for me in my life. I knew that was not how that it was supposed to go down. Where I broke one night, I was sitting there, I'm a needle junkie. I mean, I was shooting with Parvo needles because I could use them so many dadgum times. I lived in the country, couldn't get needles at a pharmacy. I think I found Parvo needles in my grandma's refrigerator or something. And I remember that I had needles laying all around the house, and I had this poster board, and I drew this bicep on a poster board high out of my mind, and I put it on the wall, and I was going to throw needles at it as a game. And I started crying, man, because I couldn't figure out how you win. Like, I couldn't figure out the purpose. Like, I had no idea, like, how you win that game, because ultimately, at the end of the day, it's death. That's it. Death or incarceration. Those are the only two ways that you get out of that game if you don't voluntarily put it down or seek out help in your life. Yeah. So whenever the police...
we're the Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Long before the life leaves our body, right?
Absolutely, man. So when the police arrested me, I had no problem submitting to that because I knew right then and there.
You were hurt.
That was it, man. It was over with. I didn't have to do it anymore. I had no clue what was next in my life, but I knew that it was better than what I just left. And in handcuffs, I felt more free than I had felt in a very long time because I knew that I no longer had to be a slave to that drug.
You're preaching to the choir over here, man.
Yeah.
I love handcuffs, jail, and all. Every time I see a cop, I want to high five them. Hey, y'all saved my life.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. You know.
I love that. I can remember you're talking about just being so wrapped up in that culture and lifestyle of addiction and everything that comes with it. I remember in my first exposure to the recovery community, I'm outside of this meeting, and some guys are talking, and one of them's talking about how he's planning on going to see his daughter play softball over the weekend. One of them's going to a bowling league. One of them's doing chores at the house, and I'm like, have you guys ever huffed paint? I just didn't have anything to add to the conversation. I didn't, I'm just like, all I can think about is drugs at that time, and those war stories. And so we hear you only have to change one thing, and that's everything.
Yeah.
And it's hard to fall off the middle. It's hard to fall off the edge if you are in the middle. And so I encourage anybody out there who is struggling, get in the middle now.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that because I remember I had the opportunity to do the DEA agent that arrested me, his niece's funeral. And I mean, you can only imagine that Osama bin Laden, or Saddam Hussein looking guy that you drug out of a single wide trailer on a hill in the country with no underpinning and 52-something chemicals and needles all over the house and a bathrobe. Yeah, you can only imagine like what you were thinking about that guy, and then he comes and does your niece's funeral, and you're talking to this guy, and he did. He approached me and he said, "Man," he said, "I just want to ask you." He said, why did you make it?" He said,
nobody else.
Yeah, he said, "I see this all the time." He said, "Why did you make it?" And I said, "Man,
what's different about Blake?"
Yeah, and I said, "I'm not going to lie." I said, "It was the easiest thing I've ever done." I said, "You only have to change one thing." And he looked at me.
Everything.
Yeah, he looked at me, he leaned in. I said, "Everything." If you can successfully change everything about your life, God has a new life for you. I was so blessed. I lost everything. 100% of everything, and whenever God started rebuilding my life, because the way the story goes is I spent 38 days in jail, and I ended up I ended up talking to my grandma across a thick glass wall, and I said, "Hey," I said, "I think I've experienced about everything in this jail that I need to." Because I mean, I'd already submitted my life to Christ. God had sent people my way through, His Word and through people that were doing jail ministry to let me know that I was on the right path and that I was right where I needed to be. But I said, why don't you reach out to Brian Tuggle, who's the director of John 3:16 Ministries? And I said, let's start trying to get me out of here. Well, you don't get 2 visits in jail. It's just not something you did in Sharp County, and so it wasn't 2 hours. And they was like, hey, Polston, come on. And I had another visit, and it was Brian Tuggle. So for those of you who don't know, Brian Tuggle, he's the executive director, founder of John 3:16 Ministries, Charlotte, Arkansas. It's a 180-bed men's facility. And he basically came and he told me, he said, hey, Blake, he said, I just went and talked to the prosecutor. He said, and I told him that years ago you were my stepson. And I had the opportunity to do Bible studies with you. He said, but I didn't take advantage of it. He said, so I told him I would like that chance now. And so Brian and my sister and a guy named Mike Overman came and picked me up out of jail, brought me to John 3:16 Ministries. And that's where my spiritual faith journey and relationship with Christ began.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's good.
But it was crazy because the thing is in '95, my mom was married to Brian, and they were, I remember I walked up to him and I had a Bible, man, when I was a kid before I ever started that journey in life down the wrong path. And I said, hey, will you guys do Bible studies with me? Man, I was on fire. Look, I'm telling you right now, the gift and callings of God are irrevocable. If you have felt like you have had a call on your life, guess what? You do.
Yeah,
Bottom line, you haven't blown it. I don't care if you're sitting right now and you're 63 years old and you've got a bottle of vodka between your lap and you're sitting in a recliner and your family has left you, but you felt a call whenever you were a kid. Guess what? The call's still there, man. God is still there. He's just waiting on you to answer it. Right. And so Brian, man, they didn't do the Bible study with me. They did one Bible study, and then they were too high because they were on drugs. And then all of a sudden, I remember a few months later, I went to school and came home, and my grandma picked me up from school, and she said, honey, she said, you're going to be living with me for a little while. And I was like, well, why? Where's Mom and Brian? And they said, we don't know.
Yeah.
And so they bounced and they left. But here's the thing. They went to a place called New Beginnings in Houston, Arkansas.
Okay.
And so they went and got recovery. And so in the abandonment of me physically, God was with me the whole time. And Brian and my mom were just getting the healing that they needed to do the things that God had in store in their life. But God allowed Brian that chance to redeem.
That's good, man.
Yeah, no, it's crazy, man. Like,
It's good.
I love it, but God is good, man. But the crazy thing is he's not a respecter of person either. And so he didn't just do this because it's Blake Polston. He didn't just do this because it's Jimmy McGill. He just didn't do it because it's Chris Dickie. He'll do it for you. He'll do it for each and every one of us. The invitation's there. Mm-hmm. I told myself I wasn't going to preach, but I think I lied to myself a little bit.
Yeah, you did a little bit of preaching there. But that's all
No,
right.
that's good stuff, Blake. Will you talk to us about your vision and what you hope to accomplish with M18?
Absolutely, man. M18 is founded really on four pillars. What we believe is that first and foremost, it's faith in God. That's how that you're going to receive true freedom. Secondly, we believe that that community, man, is paramount. We believe that it's exponentially harder to do the wrong thing when you're surrounded by the right people. Mm-hmm. And then we believe that that serving others is absolutely paramount to recovery as well, that we serve God by serving others. And we believe that in fun, man. Like, we believe that you have to have fun. And it's through those serving and through that fun that you're going to build those relationships. We want to see M18 recovery become larger and larger, and we want to see graduates of M18 recovery stick around. We're not a catch and release program. We're a catch and keep. Right now we have 8 people in our phase 1 residential program, which is a 4-month long completely residential program, and then we have 6 guys in our phase 2 program, in which it's kind of like an intensive outpatient in which people live there, but they still go to church, they still have serve roles, they're still in community. We want to see M18's phase 2 program grow and grow and grow and grow in numbers until that there is an actual recovery community within Little Rock. And so people, they can always lean on one another for their faith. They can lean on one another for their problems. As you well know, we need other people that are addicts that we can hang out with.
Yeah, Galatians 6:2.
Yeah, for sure. We need somebody that can laugh at crack cocaine jokes, man. Like, I mean, even though we're saved by the blood, we still got to joke around about our life.
Yes,
and so,
man, we got to share those burdens. You got to help me shoulder mine. I'm going to help you shoulder yours. And that's the therapeutic value of one believer helping another, or one person in addiction helping another.
Yeah, absolutely. And my wife is the best director of a recovery ministry in the state of Arkansas that doesn't yet have a flock of women to pastor. And so right now we're solely focused on men, but my wife is a phenomenal pastor, a phenomenal leader. And so we hope one day when God blesses us that we will be able to have a women's facility at M18. We love it. We love everything about it. It's not a job at all. I mean, it's what we do. We do life with these people. We live in the on the premises with the men, and it's because that we want to do life with them. We don't just want to get them sober. We want to teach them how to live life, and in that, the people need to see it modeled. They need to see what a Christian man looks like.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good stuff, Blake. And you know, SAMHSA, the Substance Abuse Mental Health Service Administration, they're kind of the governing body nationally for what it takes for recovery, right?
Yeah.
Like they fund all the grants, the federal funding, all that stuff comes through them. And so they've designated 4 areas that a man or a woman or anyone has to have in order to find and sustain recovery for any length of time to enhance the quality of life. Health, home, purpose, and community.
Yeah.
Those 4 areas are the 4 key components that make a successful recovering person have sustainable recovery.
Yeah.
And it sounds like M18 has offered all of them. They found their purpose through serving. They have a healthy mindset spiritually. And you guys work out a lot too, right?
Absolutely.
So you've got the physical, mental, and spiritual health component. You've got a safe home environment, a healthy home environment, and they've got the community with each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so if you were to look at that from either side, a scientific, non-spiritual viewpoint, or a spiritual Christian viewpoint, you have the entire field covered on what it takes to make a person find recovery.
Yeah, what we just looked at what someone needs more than anything else is they need those positive relationships. They need that security in life. And I mean, if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I mean, you have to have your safety, your security, your home, your shelter. Like you have to have all of that, your positive friendships, your relationships, before you can ever start to reach self-actualization. And that's what we want people to get. We want people to understand that higher power, that calling that they have in Jesus Christ on their life to go out and to reach other people and to carry that message. I was reading the big book the other night. Jimmy's actually rubbing off on me a little bit. And hey, I'll let you know, man, like right here on TV or Facebook, social media, that whenever I think about presenting Christian viewpoints to a secular audience, I think about it as if I'm talking to you. And I know you're faith-filled, and I know you're Christian, and without a shadow of a doubt, we both love the Lord with all of our heart, but we are almost 2 ends of the same bridge. And you are entered into the secular world and then into the faith-filled world, and I am predominantly entered into the faith-filled world, trying to bridge a little bit into the secular community. And so I've always looked at that. But
So for me, it's a blend of practicality in my faith, right? Like I'm a student pastor.
absolutely.
I have full intention of church planting for my church if it's God's will, right? And so with that said, this is what I'm saying. I'm praying for safety, but I'm locking my door.
There you go.
Right? Like I know that God's got Chris, but if Chris breaks his arm, Chris is going to have me drive him to the ER.
Yeah.
Right? Like he's given us technology. You feel what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We've got both.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's.
I've had sharp edges, is what I mean, in the past, and so when you've helped me soften those edges.
I have.
You have, man.
Chris Dickie, you better write that down, boy.
And what I mean is,
you've turned Blake into a circle. You softened all of his edges.
There you go. It's
a little bit of grinding on Blake.
Some of the edges
I'm not
that.
caught being a spectator, guys. I'm just kind of being a viewer right now, just watching.
Are you watching the show? You're not.
I kind of.
Yeah. Well, what I mean by that is I was reading the big book, man, and I've never read anything that had to do with AA. I'd never read anything that had to do with the 12 steps. Now, don't get me wrong. We teach 100% of the steps in M18 recovery. We just don't do them in order. We teach forgiveness. We teach repentance. We teach inventory. We teach, faith in Jesus Christ is who we call our higher power. We teach all of that. We just have never done it in order.
So the steps are in order for a reason. They are tried and true. Now check this here out. You'll hear people in long-term recovery like Chris say the 12 steps are the dummy's guide to God.
Yeah.
Like that's what they're designed for. They're designed for a person to come in, submit and surrender, and the first 3 steps cover I can't, God can, I need to let him.
Yeah.
That's it in a nutshell. The 4th being the inventory, the 5th being James 5:16, confess your sins to one another, and in doing so, pray for each other, be healed, for the prayers of a righteous person, effective and powerful, right? And then 6, after we've done all that unpacking, then with 6, it's time to look at me. That's the man in the mirror,
Yeah.
right? Like now that the drugs are gone, let's get to the root of the problem, me.
Yeah.
And that's where you learn at the core of addiction is a spiritual core, a God-sized hole that only can be filled by a power of being so much more than I am, right?
Yeah.
And so you're learning, okay, yeah, I'm powerless over addiction, but I'm also powerless over my thoughts, not powerless over my reaction. Now I'm learning that I'm so self-centered that you'll be telling me about some tragic thing that happened with Ashley, and I can't focus on what you're saying because I'm so caught up on what I have to tell you that I can't wait for you to shut up.
Yeah.
That's what you learn in 6.
Yeah.
And then in 7, you start making that list for God to humbly remove those. And then 8 and 9, the amends process. And then the daily inventory in 10. And then that seeking out of conscious contact with God, strengthening that prayer life and that spiritual relationship with him in 11, right?
Yeah.
Which suggests that you've already got that relationship with your God. And then 12.
And right now he's doing step 12.
Carrying the message, baby. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, real quick, I want to address a comment.
Oh, Chris, I want to play.
I want to address a comment. Parker Blake said, "Great job, Blake. Powerful stuff, Jimmy." What about me, Parker? Come on. But that's not what I'm not bitter about that.
Is that self-centeredness we were just talking about at the core of addiction?
I want to just brush over that, but I want him to know. Hey, Darcy Patterson said, "Is there a special meaning of M18?"
Oh, absolutely. Hey, glad you asked. M18 recovery.
McGill 18.
Yes, that's it. That's actually it. Yeah, he changed my life so much that I decided to name the entire recovery ministry
is that
after
the
him.
18 referring to felonies?
Yeah, that's
17 convictions.
Yeah, that's funny. Now, M18, it comes from the parable of the lost sheep in the chapter of Matthew in the Bible. So Matthew 18:12 says that if a man has 100 sheep and one of them wanders astray, will he not leave the 99 to go after the one?
Love it.
And that's what we believe, man. We believe that each one of us that are addicted have super special qualities, man. That we're some of the most ingenious people in the world. That we're some of the most innovative people in the world. We understand submission. We understand surrender. We know what it's like to worship. And if you don't believe me, drop your last rock on a piece of carpet.
Watch how quick we bow down.
Yeah, you will be on the floor, and you will forsake all else to find it. So we know that we're the one, and we know that we have a lot of value, and we know that Christ values us. And so M18 comes directly from the Word of God.
It's good.
Yeah. So where we actually, where we're located at is in downtown Little Rock, and we believe in the power of the local church. That's another thing we do. I know you go to that church, and I know you guys have a lot of stuff that you're doing with recovery in your recovery class. The way that my wife and I we came to pastor was at John 3:16 Ministries, man. Like we stayed there for 2.5 years, and I did, and thought that was where I was supposed to be, for the rest of my life. It was really weird because for some reason I thought that, hey man, Brian used to be your stepdad, and then he married a lady that used to be my aunt. So welcome to Arkansas. But I just had such familial ties, there that I thought I was supposed to stay there forever, and carry John 3:16 into the future. But somewhere along the way, lost peace with all of it. And I just knew that I had to go. And the craziest thing in the world happened, man. Just all these God moves. But I prayed and I prayed and I prayed. And I told Brian finally that I had to leave, and I was going to go to Poplar Bluff, Missouri, go into transitional housing. And in that moment, Brian told me, he said, well, if you feel called to leave, then, go ahead and go. And so I'd stayed there for 2.5 years. I gave him a 9-month notice. He refused the 9 months. He said, just if you're ready to go, if God's calling you, then leave. All of a sudden, Pastor Rick Bezette from New Life Church. New Life Church is a multi-site church, non-denominational throughout the state of Arkansas. Rick Bazette came that weekend that I was leaving, like the day before I was leaving. And Rick met me. Well, what Rick doesn't know is the 3 times that I was telling you guys that I rededicated my life was in 3 different New Life churches across the state of Arkansas. And so one of my plans was I was just going to come to New Life eventually, and I was just going to serve relentlessly, because that was where that I had felt God's presence when I was in my addiction, or whenever I was trying to seek it out. And anyway, stayed in touch with Pastor Rick, man, and he told me that he wanted to train me as a pastor. And so we ended up in New Life Church's ministry school, which, by the way, we have 5 M18 graduates that are going to be entering into ministry school. And I'm talking.
JJ's one of those, ain't he?
JJ is one of those. Proud of that guy.
So you should be. JJ helped me start the Faith Gang at that church. You know, and which is kind of what Blake was just talking about. But it's been so successful. Like, right, we started with 10 guys in a pizza parlor.
Yeah.
You know, and now we're at 55, 60 people per meeting.
I love that.
Well, we've outgrown everything. So now our next step is the auditorium, is where we're moving into. And so what has happened is it's turned into a full ministry.
Yeah.
And so JJ has kind of, he's still on the lead team for that, but he's mimicked it and starting the Faith Gang group at
Wolf Street.
But he named it Redeemed Recovery, which is cool.
Yeah.
I like that. But it's the same format, right? Like a testimony, because God's word talks about how powerful a testimony is. And recovery and advocates, the most powerful thing we've got is our story.
Absolutely.
And so you've got that format, and then you've got the support group that comes right after that.
Yeah.
And so that's going to be cool to see what happens there. And so we've also had another person from another big, I'm not going to mention it because I don't know how, but it's a mega church as well. And they're wanting to mimic that style. And now I'm like, trademarked. Trademark, Chris.
Yeah, there you go.
But
no, I think it's great. I'm glad Jimmy has.
JJ.
Jimmy, yeah.
I'll tell you, you keep talking about me.
Yeah, I'm glad JJ has joined you, man. Because one of the most important things in your recovery process is you have to put spiritual leadership in place. Like you have to put somebody in charge of you. You haven't done a good job of being in charge of you, and so at all.
God
in AA, it's
that.
a sponsor.
He sent Chelsea. She is in full control of me. Just ask her.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. How about Ashley?
Ashley is definitely
the
one
button.
who keeps me in check. Sometimes, Jimmy, I really do. I don't think that I would have been 8 years sober if it were not for Ashley.
And same thing for Chris, or with Tara and Chelsea.
I would have been an idiot, and I think I would have tried to drink. Knowing that I can't handle alcohol at all, since it's socially acceptable, I think that somewhere along the line, I probably would have been an absolute moron just to see. Other people can do it. Why can't I? Because then even if you've held on to long-term sobriety, man, you still have to hang on to it with your life because it's just one step away.
It goes back to what you said a while ago. The second you put something in you, you're no longer in control of you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love it. But the power of community, it's who you surround yourself by without a shadow of a doubt. Who you surround yourself with will be who you become.
Yeah.
If you hang out with people that are doing well, that have long-term sobriety, you are going to continue to do well. But if you hang out with people who are, speaking negative, speaking death into your life, like that want to talk you into doing the wrong things, then that's what you're going to become. And if you isolate, then you're a victim of your own thoughts, and that's probably the worst of all three.
Yeah, it reminds me, I hate isolation, right?
Yeah.
Like, was Luke 8:27, like the demons drove the man to live in the tombs and the caves. Why did they do that? There was no one there to pray over him or talk to him. They drove him to isolation. But I don't want to keep preaching either. We'll get you on a soapbox, man. Yeah, you will. Chris, we got 5 minutes left, man. I know Blake will get the last few minutes, and you've been sitting by kind of letting me drive today. That's kind of neat. I like being in the Chris seat. What are you doing over there, man?
No, I'm just, the recovery clinic is meant to carry that message of hope, right? And Blake, just listening to some of your story, I just have taken away the fact that you have been lost a lot, and I can relate to that. And just trying all these different ways to find that connection, and continuing to seek out, and failure after failure, and that the story that you told about throwing the needles at the bicep picture, and realizing that you can't win this game, that's a pretty devastating blow. It brings us to a place of despair. But then looking at you today, seeing that God's power and glory can just restore any of us. It doesn't matter what, like you said, if you're called, the call is still there. And addiction's like a prison where the locks are on the inside. And all of these community members, family, friends are telling us, hey dude, you have to unlock this door, and for recovery to start, for God to take over. And I'm so grateful that you were able to do that and step out of that cage. I really look forward to seeing what you do in our community. We're glad to showcase M18 today. A lot of people seeking recovery are looking for faith in something, and so you're offering that, and we're grateful for you and your wife to continue to build this. And like at the end of every show, we want to give you the final word, time for you to share a message of hope and passion. Anything you'd like to say to our viewers, they're all yours.
Yeah. Well, I think more than anything else, what I would like everyone to understand is that you're not the only one going through what it is that you're going through. There's lots of people out there that are struggling. Jimmy and I both, man, we have recovery groups that are within church. We believe that without a shadow of a doubt, that the church is what God left behind to carry his message. I remember whenever I first started trying to attend, I would just sit there and I would be in the pews, and I didn't know, like, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? Like, how do I do this? How do I take this next step? Like, nobody knows me. I'm scared I would be judged if they did. I wasn't really feeling anything other than, nervousness and anxiety towards the whole situation. But man, find a group of people that you enjoy hanging out with. God didn't call us to hang out with people that we don't even like. I was always scared to death, man, that I would have to give up being able to have fun, and I would have to be able to give up just all these things in my life, like in order to become a Christian. Bro, we are not stiff-necked people. We still go out and have a good time. You want to go to Dave & Buster's and throw down on some games, like I'm telling you, it's where it's at. But I'm telling you right now, God has a purpose. He has a call. He has a plan for each and every one of you. And if you guys are looking for a great church, man, I know that church in Sherwood, and I know New Life Church in downtown Little Rock at 610 Main Street, man, we would love to have you guys. We've seen people that have walked in and they've received miracles, man. Dakota Cobb is a guy that he was a walk-in. I walked into church, and we were sitting out on the street, and he was talking to me about his addiction. And I said, man, look, and I pointed at like 22 people that were all on the church. I said, every one of us are in recovery. So find somewhere, man, that you fit in and that you can have fun so that you can live an abundant life. Because living a life of sobriety and misery, it's not where it's at. God came to set the captives free. And whenever you experience freedom in Christ, and then you get to serve one another in love, and instead of using your freedom for your own selfish desires, that's where you'll find purpose in life. And I think that's what we all want. We want to know that we can be used and that we have a purpose that's greater than this world, because this world's fading.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, Chris, it's been a good show, man. Is he gone? Is Chris leaving? Is he
I'm
here? Okay. I figured he was going to say something after that. That was like a cue. That was like, I'm going to say something, then you say something back.
You take us out, Jimmy.
Oh, okay. Well, listen, hey, we love you guys. Blake, it's been a great show. Thank you so much for coming and sharing about M18 and all the stuff you and Ashley have done. Thank you for not giving up on yourself, you know, for wanting to live long enough to see the changes you would impact in other lives. And so that is That's huge, man.
Well, if somebody's struggling with addiction, you can find us at M18 Recovery on all social media, or you can find us at M18recovery.com, man or woman. We would love to be able to talk to you and help you out in whatever walk. My wife would be more than happy to field all women, and we'll help any man that's out there looking. So we would love to help you get the recovery that you need.
Man, that's great. And you guys do not want to miss next Wednesday at 11. I ain't supposed to say his name, but Ricky, we're going on a field trip. Guess where we're going? Lono County Jail, where I put the last substance I ever put in my body. We're going to visit the same exact cell that I got high in for my last time 6 years ago.
Wow.
And the sheriff that loved me enough to put handcuffs in my life. See you guys next Wednesday at 11.
Yeah.